Hello, we are in conversation with the Sanford School, a podcast from the School of Social and Family Dynamics at Arizona State University, designed to showcase timely and informative insights from leading faculty, researchers, and other experts which impact the ever-changing world we live in. Here at the Sanford School, we recognize that the lands where we are hosting this conversation at Arizona State University belong to the Maricopa and Pima peoples, and we are privileged to be here to welcome you to today's conversation.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Aubrey Hoffer, and I am your graduate student host of In Conversation with the Sanford School. Today, my wonderful guests are the officers of Ssfd's Graduate Student Association, or GSA. We have President Diana Jenkins, Treasurer Jenny Zhao, and Secretary Ariana Ruoff. If you're wondering where the GSA Vice President is, well, she's the one hosting this podcast. For full disclosure, I am the Vice President of GSA, so today I'm giving a little bit of an insider interview to my fellow GSA officers. GSA is a great organization, and we're hoping to use this platform to educate students about what we do and how we can serve you. So GSA, I'd like to say welcome and thank you for joining me. So just so you guys know, the podcast starts and ends the same way. I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions. These introductory ones are just going to be icebreakers to get to know you better on the surface level, and the ending ones are just going to be quick bites to get a little bit of your personal philosophy. The point is to just answer them as quickly as you can with, a couple of sentences. How does that sound? Great. So really quickly before we start, so everyone can sort of match a name to the voice, can you just sort of go down the line and just say, my name is blank, I am this position in GSA?
Hi, I'm Diana Jenkins. I'm the president this year of GSA.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm the treasurer of this year.
Hi, I'm Ariana, and I'm the administrator this year.
Awesome. So let's get into these quick questions. So question number 1 that I have is, what is your favorite dessert?
I mean, I love desserts, so anything with sugar is great. Probably cheesecake. Any sort of cheesecake is my favorite.
I would say chocolate lava cake.
Yeah, I love chocolate too, but I would probably go with brownies, I think.
Ooh, all right, we have some chocolate lovers in GSA. So my second question is, what is your favorite season?
Probably fall, like right now, is my favorite season. I love it.
I know it can be a little strange to say this in Arizona, but summer, because it has my favorite fruit, like peach and watermelon, so.
Yeah, my favorite season is spring.
Oh, and I love winter, so we've got all 4 seasons represented amongst the officers. All right, so my third question is, what is your least favorite chore?
Dishes, for sure. I like to cook, but I hate doing dishes.
Taking out trash.
Yeah, me too, taking out trash. I just have my roommates do it.
For me, it's got to be laundry. I never learned how to fold anything correctly, so that's one that got booted to my boyfriend as soon as we moved in together, so. All right, guys, let's move into our conversation now. So my first question is, for the people who are listening to this who have no idea what GSA is, what is GSA? I know it stands for Graduate Student Association, but what does that mean and what does GSA do?
So GSA has been around for quite some time in the Sanford School, and really we're here to just provide for grad students. Also act as a liaison or a point of contact if students have questions, like who to contact for certain things in the school and literally anything. We provide that resource for students. We also provide a social connection. Right now with COVID, it's kind of difficult, but we try to provide that, a social, professional, resource to all of the grad students in Sanford School.
Perfect. So it sounds like one of GSA's major tenets is to sort of, bring everyone together for social interaction and then also provide some professional development. What sort of professional development tools does GSA have available for students?
So we've done a lot of different things in the past. We've brought panelists on to talk about academic and non-academic jobs, which is really helpful for a lot of students in that way. So just learning, first of all, I think is a great professional development. Other than that, we do some conference talks and things like that. We've done poster workshops, a lot of different things. But the great thing about GSA is we're very flexible and open to suggestions. So if anyone has questions or want to maybe like have a day where we go over how to do a conference presentation, then we can easily do that. So we're able to do a lot of different things.
That's great.
Yeah. I think it's also helpful to note that we have a Canvas site as well, which we post a lot of resources to, and we post bi-weekly announcements to mention the opportunities that are happening in the department as well. So that's something to check out if you haven't yet.
Yes, we also have a lot of example like CVs, resume, cover letters, those sorts of things are on the Canvas site. So people can go on there and use those as a template if they need to when they're applying to jobs or various things.
That's great. That's one of the things that I always love about being at ASU in general is that we are a university that is so rich with resources that I feel like when we have these student organizations, it's just the norm that, you're going to have a ton of content in whatever you're involved in. So what I'm getting is that, if I'm an incoming student into the Ssfd graduate program, that I'll be added onto this Canvas site, and then I'll have access to all of these all of these materials that'll help with my development. And then GSA also plans these social events. So what happens, obviously, in a COVID social event? How does that work?
So this year we've been adjusting to the new demands with COVID. So we've done, Zoom social hours where we just all meet like on Zoom, like how we are now. And we just chat and talk about, it doesn't even have to be related to school, just personal life if they want to, or, catch up with friends, meet new students. So we really like doing those, I think, to kind of reconnect with people, especially now during, such a distant, so different time right now. So.
Yeah, it's definitely important that students are able to feel connected right now. So it's really great that GSA is doing things to promote that sort of student togetherness. I think that that's really great. So I understand that there's the GSA officers who are in this call right now, but there are also chair positions. And I understand that there's been a new chair position that's been created this year. So could somebody elaborate a little bit on what the different chair positions are and what they do?
Yeah, I can elaborate. So we just added the diversity and inclusion chair, or the D&I chair, which we're very excited about this year. This has been in response to a lot of things happening with the climate of not only the school, but the country this past year. So we added this chair to kind of, help push diversity and inclusion, which our school really strives for, in a lot of different ways. So if there's anything that comes up, our D&I chair will help to act as a liaison and support for students, and try to, amend anything if there's something that comes up. Also, the D&I chair can, come up with activities or exercises or trainings for students and or faculty to push for diversity and inclusion. So I don't know if any of the other officers wanted to add to that. It's still a new chair, so we're working it out.
And who is that chair? Who's the person who's in that position?
Yes, this year it's Ariana Vargas. She's a new student this year, and we're very excited. She's doing a wonderful job.
That's fantastic. It sounds like GSA is really sort of committed to responding to students' needs, because given the climate of everything that's going on, socially and politically right now, there has been a response from students. And, I think that a lot of people are sort of feeling a little bit not listened to. And it's great that GSA is existing as this platform for students to be listened to and to have their needs be recognized and validated and, actually worked on. So I want to get a little bit more personal right now. So how did all of you get involved in GSA anyway? Because I know that for me, like, I was someone who was a hyper involved high school student. Like, I was that kid who was in speech and debate, drama club, National Honor Society. Every day I was doing something after school. And then when I went to college, immediately stopped doing any of that, because I think I just got so burnt out from working myself to death in these student organizations as a teenager. So for me, it was sort of a return to form in grad school when I saw the opportunity to be in GSA and I saw the potential for a lot of great work to be done. And I really jumped at the opportunity at being involved. Do you guys have a similar path? Were any of you just like hyper involved in undergrad or high school, and then this was just a natural fit for you? Or is this your first time being in any kind of student leadership?
Yeah, so just like you, I was super involved in everything from student council, like in middle school and high school, and National Honor Society, as you said, academic decathlon, things like that. So I really enjoy getting to meet other people that way. And then coming into college, I was actually an undergraduate here at ASU, and we started a club called the Psychology Engagement Team, where we created a lot of events for psychology students to get a part of. So it was really familiar territory for me to kind of step into GSA. When I got here first, I was a social chair and creating social events for students. And then later on, Brittany actually reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in an administrator position. So that's kind of how I stepped into this role.
Yeah, I would say I was never a really hyper involved person growing up. I think it did slowly get to develop. I slowly get to develop that back in undergrad, and then I think just for me, I think everything just works at a slower pace, and I wasn't really involved with GSA, although I was attending events, but I wasn't in any official position in my first 2 years. But I think I've always been interested in being a part of this team, and I think it just took some time of me like talking to the officers on GSA and asking friends who were used to be officers in GSA about what their roles are, what do they do, and what are their responsibilities. And after getting to know that, actually, Brittany also reached out to me and sort of give me a little push. And then I was happy to take on this position as well.
And I was also like Jenny, I wasn't very involved in high school or even undergrad. I worked so much when I was younger that I really didn't think I had time to do anything. So I really didn't, but I've always wanted to be involved, especially in my undergrad, but I just never had the chance to. So, coming to this program, I was very excited that these opportunities existed and there was a space for growth. So my first year here, I was the brown bag chair, which I really enjoyed. And then last year I was the administrator, and this year I'm the president. So, and Brittany, who everyone's talking about, was the president last year. And the officers do a really good job of trying to put other, incoming officers to fill these positions, because we think these people are going to be great in this position. So that's why we reach out to you all and say, we'd love for you to do this. And so, it's a nice like networking, and, you talk to your friends and seeing if they've been involved. And then it's a really interesting process throughout the years that I've seen in GSA.
So I wonder if for students who maybe don't know any of us that well, maybe a good way to encourage them if they're interested in being involved is to reach out to us about different chair positions, because I know that we have a couple chair positions that might have vacancies right now, and there's always room for students to be involved if they just want to ask. I mean, I think it's always easy to say that we could create, sort of a dual chair position even if we had that many students who were interested.
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of chair positions. And the great thing about chairs is that, again, they're not in our bylaws, which means that we can add or remove chairs whenever we want to. So just like the D&I chair, we added it this year. So if there's something, a chair or something that's someone's interested in doing, but we don't have a chair for it, we can always add it. Or if someone wants to co-chair, like if someone wants to help with the D&I chair with Ariana, absolutely. We're here to kind of give students professional development in that way also, and chair positions, officer positions can go on their CV, which looks really great for jobs. So it really helps. We're all trying to help each other out. So if anyone's interested, just always you can email us and we can chat and, do whatever we need to help them get involved.
Yeah, I feel like that's like one of the I want to say poorly kept secrets about GSA, right? Is that we exist as an organization to serve students. And if we perceive that there's a need from students about virtually anything, we're going to try to accommodate to that. And I think that it's great. I think that maybe I get the sense that in past years, students were maybe not as vocal about expressing what they wanted from GSA. And this year, GSA was a little bit more active in sort of pursuing what students are interested in and what they really want out of GSA, and then adapting to meet that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, this year we've had a lot of challenges as students, especially. So, we've tried to, for example, with COVID, we tried to address some issues going on with COVID with a survey to see how people are adjusting, what resources do they need? Do they need M+, computers? What do students need to function at home or wherever they are at? And so, we try to address these things head on and as quickly as possible. And then we contact leadership positions like the director, the graduate director, to get some of these things resolved. So I think that we've been pretty quick at, addressing some of these things. And so I think that's a big strength of GSA.
Definitely. And talking a little bit about COVID and the survey that GSA put out to assess student needs during COVID, I think the thing that was so striking to me is that pretty much every student has been touched by COVID in some way, and it's pretty much been universally negative, right? I mean, even at the in the best case scenario of COVID, you're still facing this social isolation that can be really difficult. I know that for me, I just presented my thesis proposal, and I would have never thought that I would have to do that over Zoom. And now I'm sort of thinking about my future, and it's like, wow, I might have to defend my thesis over Zoom at this rate. And that's something that is difficult when that's not really a part of your plan, and that can just be something that's really hard to adjust to. So I think it's so important that we actually have the numbers too that show this is something that's impacting students.
Yeah, and I think it's great that we're able to do something like that so that students feel like they have a group of other students that they can come and reach out to and know that they can get help for things, and have just a community of people there for them too.
Most definitely. And I feel like for me, that's probably my biggest hope for GSA is that at the end of the year or the end of when I'm, done working in GSA, I'd like to say that there's more student togetherness than there was when I started. And, I think for me, what I would really love to do is try to bring students together who don't normally get to talk to each other. We really have such a wonderful diversity of research interests within our school. And sometimes it's just hard to make those connections because there are people in our program who I just think their work is so fascinating and I find them so interesting, but there's really no natural point where we intersect where I can say like, oh my God, I think you are so cool and so fantastic. But being able to talk to them at a GSA social event gives me a space where I can say, hey, I saw that project you're working on. It's so great. You're so great. And it lets me network, I guess, but it's really just about expressing that, I like the people around me and I'm interested in what they do.
Yeah, definitely. I think we were starting to get at that, trying to bring students in from different areas and to, commingle and talk about whatever they want to talk about. But, we're starting to do that in the spring. And then unfortunately things, everything happened. So we are still working on that this year, but it's been a slower process. And so we just want to thank all of the students for, being patient with GSA and hopefully they know they can still reach out whenever, even if they don't see us around campus or anything like that.
Most definitely. So I know that we're all invested in this student idea of student togetherness, but I'm curious to know, for each of you, what do you hope to accomplish during your time being in GSA? Is there a goal that you have in mind that you'd really like to try to see happen?
I mean, I think we really just want to foster community. I think for me, I think that's a really important thing. And, especially this year, we also have sociology PhD students, which is a new program in our school. And we're very excited about that. But, those students, might feel a little bit on the edge just because this program's been FHD for so long. It's almost just structured that way. And so, as GSA, what we can do is help foster that community and that link between sociology and FHD. So that way we're all Sanford School. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of get that, more solidified this year. So that's more of like a short-term goal for me this year. Because I won't be part of a GSA in this capacity next year. So I'm hoping that we can kind of get those things moving now.
Yeah, I think for me, my goal in joining GSA was to open up communication a little bit more and making sure that students have a way to know all of the different things that are going on in the school and how they can get involved and just really having that openness of who to go and talk to if they need this or that. So that's really what I think I've been focused on as being a part of GSA.
Right. For me, I think before I even came to ASU, when I came for the interview or visiting weekend, I think my general impression of our program or GSA was that we were all very closely connected. Everyone was friendly to each other and everyone are actually friends at social occasion that are laughing and talking. So I think the goal of this year for me is to sort of keep everyone in that way and keep everyone connected with what's going on, especially in this hard time. And sort of just, I guess, under the surface also keep other students who might not be able to attend all the events that GSA offer, just to sort of tell them what we're doing and what's going on. And when different little things happen, I guess I also talk to other students in the program to just sort of explain to them what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like what we're all really working towards is this sort of SSFD community where we're all able to converse together socially and help develop each other professionally. And I think that that's great. I know that for me, like part of the reason why I really wasn't involved when I was an undergrad was because, coming into ASU where I was an undergrad, it the school like ASU is just so big that it's so easy to just sort of disappear into the bigness. And that was something that at the time I was like, I really don't know how to make myself stand out because I'm around all these other kids who were also overachievers in high school and in some ways better overachievers than I was. So that really sort of caused me to just sort of fade into the background. And then coming into SSFD, which, is a fairly large program, but certainly not when you compare it to the scope of like the undergrad body at ASU. You're really able to see this potential for connection. And, I think that COVID has made that so much harder to do because now it's like there is also this physical barrier between yourself and your other students and your mentors. And it's really easy to just sort of barricade yourself. And that's something I've been guilty of doing. So I think it's great that GSA is really working to try to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I mean, we have 39 students in our school, so that's a significant amount.
Yeah.
And so, but it's still small enough to, be able to foster that community and, have connections that we can communicate with each other, like Jenny was saying. Even if they can't come to all of the things, making sure that we fill them in on what's going on, and just have that line of communication open.
So one question that I have is that, I understand that if students are listening to this and they want to get involved with GSA, they have this Canvas site, they're able to email any of us about potential chair positions. What about faculty who might be listening to this who maybe haven't really ever been involved with GSA before and they hear about the work we're doing on this podcast and they're interested in being more involved, maybe talking to GSA or sharing some of their wealth of information? What would you maybe like to see with faculty involvement? And then how could faculty who are interested get involved with GSA?
That's a really good question. Oh, go ahead, Ariana. No.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, I think one of the best ways for them to get connected to GSA would be reaching out to Stacy, so that Stacy Flores is our learning table chair this year. That was formerly our brown bag chair. So we sort of updated that position, and Stacy has been doing an amazing job putting together events that connect faculty with students. If faculty want to speak to the students, definitely they can connect through Stacy.
Yeah, I think that that's great advice, Ariana. I think it would be so awesome if any faculty are listening to this, if they were interested in speaking to students or sharing any of their information. We would really love to hear that. So I wanted to transition now since we're sort of reaching the end point of our time. And I wanted to close this out with a couple of deeper questions. I really want to get to the root of, what being in grad school means for each of you. So I'm going to start with my first question, which is that I'd like to ask you to name something that you learned about yourself in grad school so far. I think to reflect.
Wow, it's a good question, for sure. I think, what I've learned about myself is that I am more capable in certain ways, and I think I thought I was, coming into the program. I also learned that I love connecting with students, and I love talking and meeting new people. And I think that's something I really value, being in grad school. I feel like we have a really good community, and, also with faculty too. There's a lot of faculty that's very open, and I love meeting them and making connections. And so I learned a lot about myself through, just being here.
I think what I want to say was that I think in grad school, I was really able to develop my identity in a way. I think racial ethnic identity, especially since I came to this country at 15, and it was always, I think I was always confused about certain things. And I think just by taking courses and talking to different professors and interacting with students doing different research topics and what they're understanding about their identities, I think I was really able to engage in conversations related to that with different people and sort of develop my own identity in a way as well.
I think something that I've learned being in grad school is that I tend to really throw myself into my work because that's comfortable for me, but that it's really important to sometimes step out of your comfort zone and really get involved. I don't think that I would have met a lot of people or had the opportunities that I have had if I hadn't pushed myself really hard to step out of my comfort zone and just attend events that I thought sounded interesting, or joined clubs that I normally wouldn't have, or talked to people that seem so different from me. So that's something that I've really had to push myself on, but it's been so worth it to do that.
I think that was beautifully said, everyone. I think you all have really touched on the way grad school has challenged each of you, but ultimately has led to a lot of personal growth. And I think that that's just great. So my second question is this: if you could sit down with yourself as a first-year student, what advice would you give?
I think I would push myself to really create a timeline for myself. I think, I want to keep it positive, but I think that would have really helped, me to get some things done a little bit sooner than I am, which is fine. So the only advice I'd give to myself would be to make connections that, like I mentioned in the first comment, which is really important, but then also to have a timeline because it goes by fast. It really does. And I think that's something I didn't realize coming in. I said, I have all of this time, and I really didn't. And so I would give myself that advice.
I think what I would tell myself is that it will get better. I know like first year has been hard for I think most people I've talked to, and I guess it doesn't, maybe it doesn't really necessarily get better, but you will get used to it and you will adjust better. So I think that's something I'll tell myself.
Yeah, that's both of those points are really great. I guess I would also tell myself to just kind of keep my options open a little bit more. I think coming into this and being at ASU, I kind of felt like I already knew everything about ASU, like being an undergrad and then staying here, but I really don't. And it took me a while to sort of open up and reach out to other people and just be open to new opportunities and things like that. So, yeah.
That's great. So my final question for you guys, so the note we're going to end on is, what is your favorite thing about Ssfd?
I think, there's a lot of things I like about Ssfd. I think a main thing is, we do all, collaborate pretty well together, and, among faculty and students, I think there's a good sense of community, and the push for, training and other areas where we can learn on, and including like diversity inclusion that we've seen a lot this year, I think is a really big strength and I really love about Ssfd compared to other programs and even the master's program that I was in. I think that's a really big, highlight, I think, for us.
And I think my favorite thing is that I was able to see how students and faculties can speak up about their needs. And I think for professors, they are able to, I think, speak up for, I think, what they see as important in the field and what they're advocating for different like rights or development for diverse groups. And as students, I think I was always like a slower, like a less involved person, but I was able to see other students to be able to really speak up for what they see as important and address their needs in that way.
I think that my favorite thing about Ssfd is how interdisciplinary we are and how we all come from such diverse backgrounds, but when something happens, we all come together and are there for each other. It definitely feels like a community being in our department.
That's wonderful. I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much, GSA. You have all really exemplified the commitment that you have to reaching out to students and continuing to develop this community of togetherness that you hope to see. So before we sign off, I just want to ask you guys if there's anything else you'd like to say, a final message to students or faculty or anybody else listening.
Just reach out if you need anything. We have our GSA email, the Canvas site. You can email any of the officers directly if you'd like. Just reach out if you need anything, volunteer to be a chair if you'd like. And we look forward to talking with all of the students and all of the new students. I know we haven't had a chance to talk to all of the new students together yet, but we are excited to meet everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Diana. And GSA's email and the emails of all the officers will be included in our show notes today. So I just want to say thank you so much, GSA, and thank you so much, wonderful listeners. Thank you.
Thank you.
To learn more about the Graduate Association, visit their website at thesanford.asu.edu/FHD-GSA. You may also connect with today's podcast guests via their email. For Diana Jenkins, President, email dljenki1@asu.edu. For Aubrey Hoffer, Vice President, email alhoffer@asu.edu. For Jenny Zhao, Treasurer, email czao60@asu.edu. And for Ariana Ruoff, Administrator, email akruof@asu.edu. Connect with us and get access to all of our podcasts by visiting thesanfordSchool.asu.edu/podcast, where you will also find links to all of our social media channels. This conversation has come to an end, but our work here continues.